I was trying to put this. Now you can see, I guess, right? Okay. Let me see if I'm recording now. No. Yes. Okay. So I was talking about this walking is the best man medicine and the food and efficiency. I'll share the PPTs so you can probably have a look at it. And I was talking about the benefits of exercise, the myokines, how they would influence the brain, happiness, and that is going to improve the quality of life, body, immunity, and many other things. And once you are active and doing more, you can feel even better. And that is also on a positive feedback, right? You get your body works, brain is happy, brain makes body further happy, body works even more. It can also go on the negative side. So I would put it this way, that sometimes if we are unhappy for any reason, somehow it's a good thing to go on a run or a long walk, some kind of physical activity. Sports is even better to build the mood. When you get physically tired, the brain gets a good sleep and good recovery and is happy, and then it can make you work better. And then this is a good cycle. So if anytime we feel sad, this is a good approach to do. Some people take to arts too. That is also a good one. Somehow we need to make the brain happy, and the brain will make the body move ahead. Anyway, I hope you understood that. So I was showing this graph and trying to discuss about the fertility rates, and people are becoming less and less fertile, and the booming IVF clinics everywhere, and it is an indication that people are having a lot of different problems. One of the problems, at least, is that their inability to produce functional gametes. They are sterile. Okay. Then if this continues, at one point we will have the population will keep on dwindling and eventually we will go extinct. So there should be a way of some ways of producing gametes. There is also one another issue is that there are many people with a lot of mutations which could result in some form of cancer. Say, for example, cancer. Then should the person still be allowed to have children? And if that genetic predisposition is inherited to the children may also have cancers. So should the individual A have the rights for reproduction or not? They should have. Like, that is what the principles of democracy we try to learn. And if you're saying somebody is sterile, and should they have the right to reproduce by other means? Yes, they can, if that is what they desire. And so in multiple angles, if you see, we have a need to develop some technology from stem cells or so, we should be able to develop the gametes. And these are baby steps. We can also have a counter argument to what I just said as a motivation to study this. People would say we are already high in population. Somebody who is sterile can remain like that. They don't need to have children. Or if you say if they already have, they are genetically predisposed to cancer, why should they have children and cause further pain to the children? But it becomes an ethical issue. I want you to also think of the ethical issues every time we answer a question. We have social problems, as population is a social problem, but social problem is about everyone or a society. Ethical is twofold. One is the society and the other one is equality. Everybody should have equal rights and equal opportunities to exercise their biological roles or whatever their wishes are within the boundaries of the law, right? So I think if we, because the more and more number of people are becoming sterile, would indicate that the species will have trouble in the future. And so we would want to develop some technology that can replenish the the issue of the sterility. So in this lesson, we will talk about this quickly. We will discuss some biology about germline differentiation. That is the focus. And this particular chapter is also designed in a way that you want to read about it and discuss about it by yourselves. It's also partly it is self-study, because this is a nice introduction, nice discussion in the review where the author describes about the controversy about something about the stem cells. I don't want to say, but you can discuss about it, read about it from the chapter. So you should become proficient in reading or following the scientific literature. That's one of the objectives. And so I will provide all the required terminology and biology for you to follow the paper. Okay. And I'll also, of course, discuss many things about it. There is one nice quote, I can't remember who, but they say, sometime in the next few years, if it hasn't happened already, the world will reach a milestone. Half of the humanity will be having only enough children to replace them. That means if two people can give rise to multiple children, right? But by the sentence is two will only give rise to two. That is the family planning method, when we are doing it consciously and as a matter of choice. But it might also become what you say is because of the problem itself, as such as the sterility itself. And then the population will remain constant or it will keep going down. There is also, with the age factor, sterility also changes with the age factor. For month chance of conception, and this is 25% when the person is about 22 and so on. With increasing age, the probability of getting pregnant also reduces. It is about by the age of 35 or so, the probability becomes very less. In the modern lifestyle, we have a career to pursue. We have many things to do in life before we settle, have children and all. I agree that there are serious problems. It is a huge commitment to be a parent and to raise kids. There is no doubt about it. It is a 48-hour job done in 24 hours. And that's the amount it takes physically, mentally, emotionally to be a parent. And that's one thing a woman deserves all the respect for. One of the things. So, and if an individual is already working has a full-time job and also a mother, you can think how much the individual female is actually doing in life, right? Full-time job, mother, and also have to take care of the home. That's so much work done in very little amount of time. And that is done not just one day, but several years together. So the social architecture itself has there is a difference. Okay, there is partiality against them because they do not get enough of the financial independence. If somebody is earning, many people don't even consider these as work even. That is work. We have to be very open about it. And then we have one another point of it is that the cultural differences. So there are conservative societies, there are very forward or liberal societies where male and female are supposed to take care of the homes equally. I myself don't fit into this category, which I'm not proud of, but you have to realize, I often do realize sometimes, and we try to do that. The cultural differences that we grow up or in conservative societies as opposed to liberal societies are different. So one point that I want to also bring up, because we have women here and women are studying and trying to do, we cannot separate professional life and personal life. For us, they both have to go hand in hand. One first, either personal life should go or professional life should go. Professional life is for financial liberty, and personal life is about emotions and the culture and the other responsibilities that we have. So what we need to, there are no answers for it as such, but it is what we should see is sometimes parents bother about just getting married while the individual wants financial liberty. And we try to, in many of the cases, we cannot have a balance. You can have either one of it, not both. But if you see liberal societies, they have, in majority of the cases, not all of the cases, or at least they have a choice where they can have both at a time. Okay, personal life is completely separated from professional life. So why I'm bringing that is for you to think over it and also see to it that way. And why I'm bringing it up also is you don't have to delay everything until you're financially liberal, established, and then we'll have kids and all those things. I don't think that's a good one. But of course, this is a huge part. Raising children is not easy. It can interfere. But if you find one should find a cooperative partner probably, and those guys here should probably realize, including myself, how much we should also pitch in to help at home. Okay, I hope with you realize that with age, the fertility also goes down. These are some of the total fertility rates in some of the countries. You can think of these are some of the countries from the Europe, and here is China, and then here is India, Philippines, and so on. Those that are not so developed or underdeveloped, their fertility rate is high. Again, I think this is more of indicating family planning. But this is not just about family planning. In the sense, in these countries, there are no family planning. They may have more children, more than two. In India, we have family planning. In China, had even more family planning, one child per. That is a communist country where you can impose those rules, and there is not much to say. In India, we have these two. We don't say that you cannot have more, but people, many of them, because the resources they could provide for the children is limited, they have reduced to this. And government also gives some benefits if you have just one child, and if it is one female child and you stop with that, there are facilities for the child actually. Okay, the point that I'm bringing here is, while the graph that I'm showing here would be representing that of family planning, there are also several sperm banks in the countries that I have seen. I have studied in Denmark, so I know that there are several sperm banks, so many of them, which would also is a representation of probably indication that the fertility rates are going down, so that the sperm banks can give sperm to the people, a childless couple, so that they can have their own children. They have can at least one of them could have their child, and then usually it is just like every animal rearing child and bringing them up is an instinct that the majority of the organisms have, and that's what kind of fulfills the biological instincts to a great extent. So why this infertility is the question. At least with the sperm, there are so many things that could cause fertility. First thing is the gamete itself. The second thing is about delivery, natural means, and then the ability for fertilization. This, if I'm talking about the sperm, and then the same things could also be with the female after fertilization, about holding on to the embryo, right, in the impregnation, and then carrying it to term, and then delivery of the baby. Okay, there are multiple steps. In each steps, there could be problems. Say, or you can say release of the gametes here. So if we just consider just the sperm, it could be many problems. We could have oxidative stress on the sperm. There are drugs that could influence. Smoking reduces the motility or sperm count itself. Pollution, radiation. There could be some infections that could cause the decrease in the number of the sperm or the quality of the sperm, or diabetes, cancer as well. And there are associated problems, which such as the glands or prolonged stasis in the epididymis, and so on. And some of them, differentiation itself is a problem, where they do not mature into complete sperm. A sperm needs to be, it'll have something like this, with the acrosome on the tip and a head particle, tail, and the neck-like region and the tail to swim. It has a long journey to make. And in that case, if the tail did not form or the acrosome did not form, either way, it is not going to help in fertilization, right? These are all causes of, could be any of these. They could increase the infertility. Okay, and that is common with men. There are numerous people who have a lot of problems. At least these, in some cases, we could avoid. The majority of these things, they are not in our hands. These things are not necessarily in our hands, but the factors here, such as using some unnecessary drugs, or smoking, or getting unnecessarily exposed to pollution and radiation, could also influence. This is what somewhere people can take care and try to avoid those. So there are multiple points about it. There are many other problems. Is about delivery of the sperm. So the delivery should have been to the uterus, and there they would have moved. The sperm should move, and this is where some problems would come with the hormones, where the person cannot deliver these sperms, and at the same time we may have blockage of sperm during the transport. Well, gametes have formed, but somehow they are not delivered, and in that case, these assisted reproductive techniques can help the the fertilization to happen. I hope you remember ICSI. Can anybody recollect ICSI? Yes, what is ICSI? Intra cytoplasmic sperm injection. When we were reading about uniparental stem cells, we were discussing about how to make AG cells, androgenetic ones. In that, we discussed about double ICSI, meaning that we would have injected 2 sperms into an enucleated egg. Okay, the objective is of what we're trying to study is there are problems with gamete production, for example, and then there are 2 broad approaches we can try. Is embryonic stem cells. From embryonic stem cells, we can derive gametes, or from somatic stem cells, the gametes can be derived. But before going in there, we will have a brief biology about gametogenesis, or how the germplasm is happening. We have known the zygote, then the morula, and then the blastocyst. This is the ICM. ICM will give rise to different cell types and completely terminally differentiated cells, right? In gametes, there is something different. While the somatoplasm is pretty straightforward, except that they have so many different types of differentiated cells with very diverse functions. What we have in primordial germ cells, or sorry, the nuclear, the haploid, sorry, the gametes, first thing is they are haploid in set. They have only N, and because it has to undergo the meiosis. And the second one is it has to have all the somatic genes suppressed. That is common with every cells. There are certain set of cells that are suppressed in each of the cells. In the gametes, majority of the somatic cells are suppressed. What is required for the differentiation of the gametes and for fertilization to occur is what, and then to take up the development are what genes are actually active. And then morphological determinants. The sperm, as we discussed little, has a certain structure. Any structural problems with this could cause infertility, meaning that they cannot somehow make the fertilization occur. It could be blocked in any way. And the egg itself has certain morphological properties where it is still, say, assume it is still undergoing meiosis, no nucleus, of course. Nuclear membrane is not there, but the whole cell is filled with nutrition. From the time of fertilization until it gets implanted into the endometrium, the egg has all the nutrition required to allow the cell divisions to occur, as much as blastocyst until the stage of blastocyst. So egg is a huge cell filled with a lot of nutrition and all the factors required to carry out cell divisions upon fertilization. There is another thing that we were discussing in the previous is about imprinting. The imprinting should be perfect. That means during the stage of primordial germ cells, erasure should have occurred, and then de novo imprint should have been established, right? And yes, it should eventually be in a situation, especially in the case of the egg, it should have all the necessary factors that will require it to activate the zygote and then undergo cell divisions and so on. That is the nuclear program for a gamete. This is no other cell usually has such kind of things. Okay, yeah, they have the other cells, somatic cells have their own nuclear program. But how gamete is different is some of the things is something like this. This is huge difference. Haploid, that is one big difference. And the second difference is about the imprinting. Those are the two big differences that are there. So from primordial germ cells to gamete, I'll take the X chromosome reactivation. If it is in female, the X chromosome would have been inactivated. So one of them, either paternal or maternal X chromosome, would have been inactivated, and that should be reactivated. And in the sperm, we have organization of genome around the protomines. I hope you remember we discussed this when we are talking about global methylation states, how they would have a demethylation would occur because the sperm is exchanging the protomines for histones. During spermatogenesis, histones are removed and replaced with protomines for effective packing. Acrosomal proteins to make the entry into the to digest through the cells and the zona pellucida. It has acrosomal proteins, and it should be able to have a lot of energy to travel all through to the fallopian tube where it meet the egg and fertilize. Oocyte has nutrients to grow from zygote to blastocyst, and it should have zona pellucida, I didn't mention in the previous one, which is required for the protection from cells, from other body fluids. Meiosis should be complete, or meiotic proteins should be there to complete the meiosis because it is about to happen, right? The spindle fibers, the second polar body is not yet released. And it should have all the demethylases, everything ready, so that upon fertilization, it should be able to divide. Yes. So there is sex determination. What makes as a man or a woman, boy or girl, is, or how do organs also become, either we have testes or the gonads, testes or ovaries, is dependent mostly, if not all, about a gene called SRY that is present on the Y chromosome. So if SRY is not present, then the default program for every species, the default program is female. And the male is a kind of deviation from the default, whatever is there. Okay, our general program is to be a male body. But because of the Y chromosome and the presence of SRY gene, we become a male. So male is kind of abnormal, you can think of, or little different from that of the female. In every species, the default is the female. That is clean. No females, no species. In other species, say for example, where we have discussed about parthenogenesis examples, the female can replenish or resurrect the whole species itself. Even if all the males died out, it can give rise to more males and then survive. Okay, in males we have, we'll start with females. In females we have X, and if an X chromosome also comes from, or a sperm bearing the X chromosome comes, we have a zygote with 2 X chromosomes, and that is going to be a female because there is no SRY. And ovaries will develop, and then it becomes a female. Just about in the trimester itself, the follicles, the ovaries or gonadal, which usually form around that time. So in the male, we have an X chromosome that is coming from the mother, and the Y chromosome from the father, or the sperm here. And then we have X and Y that is going to determine the formation of testes, and then eventually forming the male. So these are in a simplistic ways. There is much more complicated regulation, which we will discuss shortly and in a brief manner. So after from the time of fertilization to a stage here, something forms, which is going to be the future gonad. And that gonad, the shape, either can become a testis or a ovary. And it is dependent mostly on the SRY gene that is only present on the sperm. Keep that in mind. So I hope you know about the gonads, and if you have studied, it's easy. So here are the follicles, which we said they form about in the trimester, and then this is the um, ovary, and these follicles are formed, which will eventually mature and release out. Say one mature the follicle will eventually burst and release the egg, and that is taken up by the fallopian tube, and it will be carried towards and where fertilization may occur, and so on. And the testis has several lobules which will keep on producing testis, and this is the epididymis where the sperm can be collected and released on copulation. So many people also, if I forgot to mention, is PCOD, I forgot. Yes, anybody can recall it. It's also called as PCOS, polycystic ovarian disease or ovarian syndrome. I think POCD is for disease, and OS it can be called anyway. Where at any given time there are two ovaries on either side. 1 week, 1 month, or one menstrual cycle, one might release an egg, on the other one might release in the next menstrual cycle. Sometime in a given ovary, only one follicle is supposed to mature and burst and release. And in these cases, in PCOD or so, what happens is many follicles try to mature and nothing matures actually. So that because of which no eggs are released, and that causes infertility temporarily, at least. It has multiple reasons, or sometimes there are no reasons why it occurs, or it's not completely clear. But mostly people think it is hormonal, and they do prescribe to reduce the weight and include more exercise and so on. Okay. So I will just take this one slide and stop, and then we can again get back to this. As I was talking about the gonads in the previous slides here, that this is called an indifferent gonad, or you can say bipotential. That means when the baby or the fetus is forming, it forms the Mullerian duct as well as the Wolffian duct and gonads, which you call them as bipotential. So this is a default program that is present. And if male hormones are produced, then the Mullerian duct is going to degenerate, and the Wolffian duct will survive or will develop further. And the gonad that was bipotential, when you say bipotential, it can become either a ovary or a testis. Okay. So if male hormones are present, then it becomes testis. If male hormones are not present, then it becomes ovaries. That is a simple system that is inbuilt into our species, or many species, with sexual reproduction. Okay. So I'll stop here. If you have any questions, we can discuss. We will discuss further details on it in the next class. Right now, if you have any questions, you can please tell me. Any questions?
So the SRY gene,
Yes.
does it help differentiation of PCG cells to differentiate more into testes than ovary. Does it do that?
So
Or,
we will discuss that in the next class. Of course, here is SRY. Okay, as these are the factors that are sorry. These are the factors that are influenced in the development or of the ovaries. The SRY is what, along with other proteins, of course, is going to stimulate the cells in the testis, and they will differentiate into Sertoli cells, which will produce more things, which will produce anti-Mullerian hormone and testosterone, and they will eventually form the prostate, penis, and also the developmental body parts also are different, right? Not just the gametes itself. So the SRY is stimulating the production or the differentiation or formation of testes from what is a bipotential gonad. Okay, if that is the question you asked.
yes,
But we will discuss about it in the next class. Yes, this was the slide after this. Okay, we have a few more things. Of course, we
okay,
will
sir.
not go into all the details, but we will understand as much as we need for the lesson. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'll stop here.